Hi everyone, this video is about chapter 13, our final chapter, which has just one piece of work, our final Dropbox assignment. So it is asking you to respond to exercise 13-1, number 1. So here it is from the text. Take a work of fiction with which you are very familiar and identify an argument made by or through the work. Is the argument made by virtue of it being an allegory, a model, or a thought experiment? Should we find this argument persuasive? Why or why not? So I have kind of changed that a little bit as I put it in the Dropbox. So I will show it to you. Here is the Dropbox description, which says, answer that number 1, which asks you to identify an argument or worldview. I'm including worldview, which, as I say later here, is covered in the beginning of section 2 of chapter 13. So an argument or worldview, I believe they kind of go hand in hand, and it's not fair to restrict it to just an argument, but be as thorough as you can. Explaining, first off, you should consider whether it is made, as the prompt said in the book, via an allegory, modeling, or a thought experiment. If it falls outside of these, just make sure that you say that and explain why you think that's so, and what it does to make the argument or promote the worldview. You can consider movies, novels, plays, short stories as what qualifies as fiction. If you think something else would also qualify, let me know, and I would be able to possibly approve it. So obviously nothing factual such as a documentary. This should be a story of some kind, fictional story. So again, an argument or worldview is fine. So in order to introduce the chapter a little more, I have the PowerPoint available. So this chapter 13 is interesting from my standpoint. This book is obviously very old. In its 13th edition, it's been around for probably 40 years, roughly, maybe even longer. 3-4 years between editions, and this is a new chapter in the 13th edition. They've never had this chapter before. As you can see, the chapter itself comes back to the notion of rhetoric, argument and rhetoric in fiction, and is, I think, a very nice chapter to finish on. Obviously, stories, movies, novels make points, they make arguments. The examples used in the book include allegories such as Animal Farm. Of course, the philosopher Plato had a famous allegory of the cave that I and probably everybody covers in their introductory philosophy classes. And many books can serve as allegories. For example, the Narnia series by C.S. Lewis generally functions as pretty concrete Christian allegories. Modeling, Macbeth illustrating in an extreme way something that we see in ourselves. In other words, there are aspects of behaviors that we could imagine as real and are modeled for us to be able to connect with. Thought experiments. The book is it mentions Hamlet. The book also mentions a pretty famous one by John Locke that I think even hits more directly than the Hamlet example. Fiction arguments in fiction are often implicit, not necessarily upfront in your face, straightforward. So that this is where part of the fun is, and so the fun of interpretation. The book makes an interesting point here. An essay with a bad argument is still a bad essay, but a book with a bad argument can still be a good book. And again, point of fiction is not necessarily to argue, but just to tell a story. But obviously, there are many arguments and points made. So on to the notion of a worldview, which they put under the persuasive power of fiction. And their example, again, famous classic works, The Grapes of Wrath, oppression, people being beaten down by the system, The Fountainhead, a worldview in which individuality is promoted as the goal, and overcoming obstacles as something that a great person can do. Again, as they elaborate, fiction can be more persuasive than explicit argument. Interesting issues that if we had more time here at the end of the course, could have more assignments, but I know that you don't need that. So needless to say, this is a lot of things that are covered in literature and English courses as well. So we'll stop there because that's the essential part of the chapter that is being asked about in the Dropbox. Let me know if you have any questions, and I have fun with it. Thanks.